Welcome to Weathering Minds, where we discuss how the weather outside affects the weather inside your mind. Today, we are here with Andrew Whittington, President and Chief Underwriting Officer of RSUI, which is a wholesale specialty insurance company, and we're going to be asking him about working in the insurance industry, weather-related property loss, and how it affects people both mentally and physically in the industry business. So, Andrew, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Daisy, and I do appreciate the invite. It's good to be here.
Okay. For people who do not know in the audience, Andrew also happens to be my father, but not today. Today he is my interviewee, and we are going to be asking him about the insurance industry, how it relates to mental health, and of course, weather and meteorology. So, you are President and Chief Underwriting Officer of RSUI. What does that mean to you in terms of responsibility?
Thank you, Daisy. Well, in short, it means a lot, and a lot of responsibility comes with leading RSUI in terms of leading their overall and really directing their overall underwriting strategy in terms of their operations and their portfolio optimization. We do that really based on our risk tolerance, and the risk tolerance of the corporation, that is really a derivative of our capital providers and our reinsurance partners and the support that they give us.
Okay, interesting. So it was interesting what you said earlier about how one event in Miami could cost billions and billions of dollars for you and many other insurance companies. And that kind of leads me into my next question is how do you balance the need to provide good comprehensive coverage to your clients who are facing severe weather events while also kind of balancing the financial stability and security of your company?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a number of layers to that question. First and foremost, we are a publicly traded company. We're part of a larger conglomerate, and our first priority really is to our shareholders and our employees, and providing a product that can make us financially stable, make a margin, at the same time and we only do commercial insurance, so get people like factories, school boards, hospitals back up and running as quickly as possible after, say, a Category 4 or 5 hurricane has hit them. And so you see devastation yourself on the television when floods come in, there's been a tornado or a hurricane, and it's our role to really get our claims people out there, assess the damage, and then get people back to a place where they can start their operations again as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think what you said about the news, I feel like insurance companies, specifically risk ones, tend to get kind of a bad rep because people are always saying, but that's never going to happen to me, or that's just such a rare occurrence. But when that does happen, insurance companies are there to provide that stability and just support.
Well, insurance is really there. It's not a service program in terms of, it's not like getting your car serviced.
Right.
It's insurance. It's there for that, really, in many ways, we're providing for that catastrophic event. So you could have $100 million hospital and the premium may be $1 million.
Yeah.
But if a hurricane comes tomorrow and blows down the whole thing, we will write you a check for $100 million. So we have to, we call it the law of large numbers. We have to insure lots and lots of people, lots of businesses who don't have losses, in order to provide enough capital.
For the people who do.
For the people who do. That's exactly right.
Okay, so it's funny what you just said about the news and how you'll see a lot of things about these hurricanes on the news, the devastation. And that's funny because, as I said in my first episode, if you've been listening for all the episodes, is obviously I want to become a meteorologist when I'm older. And how I actually got into that was my dad, when there would be hurricanes or tornadoes coming up, he would put on the Weather Channel to, keep your...
I'd tune into the station to see what was happening. And
I would start watching with him, and that's really how I got into it. So I really owe it all to him. But, okay, so we'll get into our next question. So, as you were saying, it's kind of a high-risk job. Not high-risk, but, lots is going on at your job. And the insurance industry can be very stressful. So how does your company specifically prioritize the mental well-being of your underwriters and staff, especially during those high-pressure situations where a loss is about to come?
Yeah, a great question. From June the 1st to November the 30th is what they call hurricane season.
Oh, interesting.
That is the actual date. So through that period, it is definitely a heightened tension around the office, particularly if hurricanes start coming in. But ultimately, what do we do in terms of dealing with that stressful situation? I think it's having a good corporate strategy, being very transparent with our employees about what we can and can't do, and letting them know we have this vision. And if we're in the business of taking risk, and occasionally we're going to have a big loss, but that's okay. That's what we're paid to do. And as long as that loss is in the risk tolerance of really what you have communicated to your, like I say, capital providers or reinsurance partners. It's when what we call you get an outsized loss, so it's out of the loss itself is bigger than what you really have tried to predict, and then really you would become embarrassed to your capital providers or your insurers. You don't want that, because then they lose faith in you. And really what you want to do is, after you've had that big loss, is the next day, when most insurance companies are pulling away, you want to go in,
be there,
and provide coverage for your insured, but also to write business the next day.
So it's definitely a high stress
It is
situation.
high stressful. And how we, going back to the other part of the question, how we deal with it internally, is we very much believe in well-being. And we have a wellness program. We have our own gym, we have a wellness program, we provide excellent benefits. And when these stressful times are happening, I think it's important that you have a calm leadership, and people believe in you. Like I sometimes will say, you need leaders who people will follow you over the hill. So they believe in your vision, they believe in where you are. If there's a hurricane and the next day everybody's running around the office panicking, that is not going to set a good tone. So
Panic
I think you have to lead from the front and be calm, and realize that employees will be nervous about the events, but everything is really well thought out, and it's within our risk tolerance, and we will be back up and running, and like I say, taking care of our insureds, as well as providing insurance for new insureds the following day. And at the same time, making sure people have a
resources
lot of PTO,
they need.
personal time off. They're taking care of themselves. They have a good work-life balance. We're a company that expects a lot, but we also know that work-life balance is very, very important.
It's funny you mentioned that, because our next question actually is about the work-life balance. You did say that, when you're a leader, you need to make sure you're being a good leader and having everyone follow you, and just know that you have a vision and just trust it. So obviously for you specifically, as Chief Underwriting Officer, that is probably a very stressful job. So how do you specifically employ and maintain a healthy work-life balance amidst the demands of your role?
It's a great question, and myself and my CEO, the two of us spend probably 80 nights away from home in any given year, traveling different parts of the country and different parts of the world. Next year I'll be in London a couple of times, India, Bermuda, New York a number of times, California. So it does add that in itself. Travel adds stress, different beds, different hotels, to your overall stress that you can have running a multi-billion-dollar company. So it's something constantly you're thinking of, and you try to get a work-life balance, but sometimes at my level, quite frankly, it's not always in balance. But the way I try is, when I am at home, is more than ever, I have obviously two daughters. You're my youngest, and I have an older daughter, and I've always tried, at the time I have with them, it's special time, and I've always believed in daddy-daughter dates. Going out with my daughters, going on vacation with my daughters, and just doing things that I can reflect on, I can record in my head, and at the end of the day, I love my job. I really like the people I work with. They're very intelligent, they're very good people, it's a great company, I like what I do, but ultimately it's no good having all that if I don't have some balance coming through on my personal side, and a lot of that I get with my family, and spending a lot of time with my two daughters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, obviously, in a more dad sense, you've definitely been able to teach me and my sister Lily that, even at school, you've taught us, you and Mom, that our academic responsibilities are important, but us being happy as a family and us having important healthy well-being and healthy mental health is more important, and keeping that balance is just something.
Having the support of my wife while I have a very demanding schedule, having her support, having the joy of coming home to my 2 daughters and my 2 dogs. And also added on to that is I do need time to myself to decompress. The best thing I do is run.
Right.
That for me is a place. Also, I like to golf and I like to watch sports.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay, so looking ahead, this is going to be our like kind of closing up last question. So looking ahead into the future, what do you think are going to be the most pressing like issues, challenges, opportunities that you're going to have within the insurance industry, specifically with mental health awareness, but also just as a company in a whole, and like pressing on into the future?
Well, as it relates to mental health, and I think that's the really what we're trying to get at from my understanding on this question is how we're going to be thinking about that, particularly since post-COVID.
Right.
I think mental health has obviously come to the forefront in a lot of people's minds, and I think now we have the courage to address it.
Right.
I think companies are getting a lot better at that. What I want is, individuals who are physically very well, but also mentally very well.
Right.
And you have to work on both. It's more challenging on the mental side because physically I can see somebody who's got a broken leg or a broken arm or a black eye.
Mentally, you can't see that.
Mentally, it's hard to see. So when someone turns up to work or doesn't want to do something in particular, and they say it's because of a certain amount of stress or mental health, we have a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, and I can give a lot of great examples of, I think, where we've really tried to make a difference in people's lives. I think well-being, having a balanced life, a good diet, exercise, and just knowing that you're working for a company who is compassionate, is tolerant, and is there to help you and really get to that next level. If you suddenly go through a period in your life where you're down and something is painful, then we're going to try our best to help you get to pick you up and get to that next level. It is challenging though. I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us do. I think it's an evolving thing.
Totally.
But ultimately, what you need is employees who have the skill sets that you need in order to maximize efficiency, productivity, margins, and returns, but they need to be physically and mentally well-being.
Right.
And we'll do our best to make that happen.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I feel like I learned a lot, not only about insurance, but just like how businesses run with mental health. And obviously, it was great to hear about hurricanes and hear about how you cover them. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Daisy, for the invite. This was great. I come home tonight and you say, Dad, I got some questions, and I hope some of it helped.
Yeah, it was great. Make sure you tune in for our next episode. We mentioned climate anxiety a little bit in this episode. If you haven't heard that episode, check it out, episode 4. Thank you so much for listening. This is Daisy Whittington signing off.